With teams like the Washington Redskins showing a very strong trend towards one college team in particular, I wanted to see who every NFL's team favorite college is, and by that I mean from which college do they have the most players on their roster. In the case of ties, the favor goes to which college they drafted more of the players from, and when I refer to picking up or drafting players, I mean that team was the first NFL team to sign that player. Sometimes they might be undrafted free agents. The guys that don't count were signed as free agents or traded for at some point. Without further ado, let's begin with the Patriots, who have two teams, Georgia and Rutgers, with 2 first-rounders being spent on Georgia players this year. But plenty of Rutgers players have come through New England too. The Dolphins have a 3-way tie between Penn State, Arizona State, and Clemson, but they acquired every Penn State player themselves. The Bills are big fans of LSU and Virginia Tech, but go 3 for 3 on LSU players in regards to drafting them. The Jets like USC, Nebraska, and LSU, but spent 2 top 6 picks on USC players. The Steelers are surprisingly big fans of Tennessee, with 5 players on the roster, tied with Florida. But no surprise with the Ravens, they love Alabama, drafting 5 of their 6 Crimson Tide players. The Bengals keep going back to Georgia, and who can blame them when they hit on Green and Atkins? But the Browns are fans of the U, drafting 3 of 4 players. The Cowboys come a little out of left field with their affection for Boise State, with 5 players total. The Eagles like Florida State, but only drafted 1 of their 4 players from the school on the roster. The Redskins have the most players from any one school out of all NFL teams, with 8 Alabama players on their roster, having drafted 6 themselves. The Giants like Georgia, but have only drafted 1 of the 3 players, but the Bears are fans of Georgia too, having picked up all 3 players themselves. The Vikings built their linebacking core out of UCLA, drafting 2 of their 3 Bruins, and the Packers like Iowa and Northwestern, but are 3 for 3 on Iowa players. The Lions like the Fighting Irish, with 3 Notre Dame alums on the team, and the Texans love a bit of Clemson, with 4 for 4, and their offense can thank that school directly. The Colts like Miami, but only picked up 50% of the players, and the Titans don't really have an affinity for any one school, having no more than 2 from any one school and having 2 from a lot of schools. If any, it would be Alabama with a 1st and 2nd rounder spent, or USC with a 1st and 3rd rounder spent. The Jaguars like Alabama as well, with 5 players on the roster, 4 of which were picked up by them. The Chiefs like Tennessee, and the Chargers are fans of Miami, both teams going 3 for 4. The Broncos, similarly to Dallas, look to a smaller program, lifting the majority of their players out of Utah. The Raiders, who don't like their own players, do like Florida, holding 4 of their players at ransom. The Saints couldn't be bigger fans of the Buckeyes if they tried, with 6 players on the team, 3 of whom they drafted. And now the Panthers are the only team to stay home, with 4 North Carolina players on the team, but also 4 USC players, split 2 for 4 on both. But the Buccaneers immediately invalidate Carolina's title, also staying home, picking up 4 players from Florida State. The Falcons like their LSU players, going 3 for 3, including a successful pick of Deion Jones. The Rams like Oregon State and USC, picking up more from Oregon State themselves. The Seahawks are split between Texas and Michigan, with 3 from each, all of whom were drafted by Seattle, but no Trojans, huh? The Cardinals like Texas A&M and North Carolina State, going 3 for 3 at A&M and 0 for 3 at NC State. And finally, the 49ers, who also like a home field advantage, picking up 3 players from Stanford, 2 of whom they spent 1st rounders on. They also have 3 players from both Notre Dame and Iowa. And there you have it. Those are every NFL team's favorite schools. Georgia is the most popular, being the favorite of 4 teams, whilst Alabama, Miami, USC, and LSU are all tied for 2nd. That said, Alabama has more players in their fans' teams than Georgia, despite having 1 less fan. Of course, this isn't an accurate gauge, as they can't draft everyone they like, and often schools have little impact on the decision-making process, especially if the players have already entered the league. However, that said, teams like Washington and Baltimore have actively shown a liking for Alabama, much like Bill Belichick and his love for Rutgers. Next time I look into this, I'll be looking at which NFL team is every NFL team's favorite team, and that one could turn out to be interesting.